All right, welcome back to part two of this episode. As we were discussing, this was Comedic Quintet. Astomatic was the album. And we had ended the first part with the quote from Michael Urbanic. He was like a father to us all, not only a great composer, but also a mindful band leader. He wanted us to play on the edge of harmony, to take the risk of searching for difficult notes, and after a short foray into a different musical galaxy, to return safely home each time. Well, welcome back, and without further ado, let's roll part B.
Yeah.
So please, I continue, Phil, because
So wait, how that just connected though? Because this is what we do with our kids too. And we started this episode by talking about sending them out and just going, I want you guys to succeed. Go out there, have fun, be careful, come back. But really, that's how we parent, right? I mean,
isn't that a
should.
father figure?
It totally is. And you're saying that makes it just even more so, man. That connects to
Yeah.
the week, connects to our points. And
But he still had that stress of sending his kids out, and the music definitely didn't help his stress level.
No.
Sending his kids out.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how life collapses around us right here in this conversation. It not full circle, but it's all encompassing.
Yeah.
Well,
Jazz is life.
yeah.
Football is life.
Football is life.
Jazz is life. So here's the other interesting fact that really got me is music wasn't even his true profession. He was a doctor by trade, and he was a doctor of laryngology, which is a doctor of the larynx.
Yeah.
He went to school to be a doctor, and he was a doctor. Jazz music was, I don't want to say secondary, but man, he had a full-time job, and then he would come out and do jazz.
Yep.
Did they have to back then? I mean, we have the joke about starving musicians, but would they have gotten paid enough to live? Like these guys were cutting albums,
Well,
maybe. Did they have to have?
I think yesterday and today, Matt and I have talked about this before, Phil, and I think you're right on the point. A lot of wider records come out so that people can hear what we're playing, so you can come see us in the clubs where we can put tip jars out and actually make a little bit more money. So do the records make us money, or is the live music that makes us money? Komeda at that time, you got to wonder in 1965 in Poland, where was it coming from? And
Right.
that was my rabbit hole about Poland at the time. I had a note here about what was going on at the time. And think about Poland for jazz. Do you play it or do you not? And Matt and I have talked a little bit about this after the war and things that have taken place. And I can't find the note right here.
Hey,
Oh.
while you're looking for that,
1958, after Stalin's death, jazz in Poland gained renewed freedom. Dave Brubeck visited Poland. The nation's jazz scene was influenced by cool jazz. So in 58, after the fall of Stalin, jazz was renewed. And so
Well-
you're talking about just 6 years, 7 years later.
yeah.
Do you think that was some of his influence then in writing? Because he had to have been composing and writing before that, because he's got albums out before Astigmatic.
Yep.
So I was having a hard time finding his influences. You wanted to say something.
Well, because of the way in which Germany, like you think of how it influenced, and this is a little caveat here, but when Romanians explained to me how I would have to understand what they went through with communism, this is how a neighbor of mine explained it to me, who's a journalist, right? So he's good with words. But he said, you would have to go into a room for 50 years in the dark, hearing nobody, getting nothing, and then turn on the lights and go. He said, that's what it felt like to be in communism. That's what it felt like to be here. So it's really easy to just be like, look, man, you're 30 years out of communism. What's your problem? Why aren't you guys like, no, you don't get it. You don't understand it. So I really have this appreciation, because that's what I started studying then. It was Poland was 3 different countries at a time as he was growing up, man, the turmoil that he went through. So craziness goes into that. And I can a little more appreciate the communist thing and the wars. Like, Yeah.
Nuggets.
You know what? It's interesting, Phil, because we said this to begin with. You bring more to the table than you think you do in this conversation. And part of understanding where this album comes from is understanding, Matt, you know the quote all too well. You got to go there to know there.
Yeah.
And because of your conversation with this gentleman, you understand what's going on during that time period. And so what's really happening? And it takes us to his life and the movies, the film score. Was he quick to get out of Poland to go do some other music? Absolutely. And who did he end up working for? And so, wow, what nuggets, what truth bombs.
I'm telling you,
it's just
man.
like, boom. How do I follow up with that? Well, I got to listen to the album.
Hey, I got to follow up. But I can't use the way we used to tell Polish jokes, okay? I'll go funny and then I'm going to go really deep, okay? So just ready for this, because this Polish guy tells this joke, okay? He's standing in his yard. This American guy walks by and he's got a measuring stick and he's reaching all the way up to the top of this pole that he's trying to measure. And the American guy comes up and he goes, "Hey, let me help you." And he sits the pole down on the ground and he puts his measuring stick out and he goes, "Look, it's 9 feet tall." And the guy goes, or 9 feet long. And the pole goes, "You dumb American. If I wanted to know how long it was, I'd have laid it down. I want to know how tall it is." There's my Polish joke for you. It's Pole that told it, so it's okay, right?
So it's okay.
But here's the Polish joke, and this is what kicked me, because we go back to Tracy Cook, Tracy's family, Ma Cook, those people. When I went to Poland, here's a nugget for you. I talked to the guys about how we used to tell dumb Pole jokes. And he goes, "Of course you would." He said, "Because all the smart people were killed. Every one of them. If they had glasses, they were killed. If they were intelligent, they were killed. If they had this and this kind of education, they were killed." He said, "The only people left were the dumb ones." And I went, oh man, years worth of dumb Pole jokes came back at me as a conviction. So that's the depths of that. But to think of what came out of that then, now, okay, I got this out.
65, we're talking about 20 years after WW2 and how much has been impacted by Poland. We've talked about the Tivoli. We talked about Django and coming out of France as a gypsy, and so
dressed as women coming across. I watched the episode. That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was really good.
We were, and I think you got the email with the Daniel Rise family info and how that came to be. So it is the reminder that jazz is during a time of real hardship in the world. In the U.S., we still battle the black and white. We really do. There's a lot of racism on the table. And if you look at Congo Square and the celebration that the drum beat had in New Orleans, you look at the New Orleans music, you look at Richmond, Indiana, and the struggles, and you think about the Polish music in the 50s and 60s, even in the 70s. I don't know what exists today, but you're 2 countries away there in Romania. So that's deep. It really is.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And what influenced, right? Those influences are...
Well, so Matt, do you have any information on what he came to the States to do?
Nope. That's something I failed to rabbit hole down that.
So I want to drop some other true nuggets then. So Roman Polanski, he ended up coming over to the States to write a whole lot of film scores. And so that's what he got to be known for in his later years. At a celebration in Beverly Hills, California in 1969. October 1968.
68.
He was here at a party and fell and hit his head on a table. He returned back to Poland some months later, but in April of 69, it was a brain hemorrhage that took his life. So he died very early in life. But writing for Polanski and many other film scores in the States gave him a name and a reputation. And that's kind of where his music's coming from. Robert Gradinger in The City of Glass. These film score compositions is kind of what that was.
Well, and for me, Astigmatic kind of does sound score-ish, like a score.
Oh,
Okay,
I could go into a movie.
Yeah, or you think about a scene in a movie in a car chase, and then all of a sudden,
Sure.
and they're showing a lady in a window, and then they're showing the car chase.
The spy movie is actually the feeling I had. Like you'd go in a spy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why I didn't want to lead you into that answer by asking you that question. But what else did you get out of the music? It felt kind of score-ish, like a film score to me. Now, since you brought it up, the hematoma that he had didn't take his life right away. He wrote the score for the movie Riot, the 1969 Gene Hackman movie Riot, while he had that hematoma.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't imagine the pain that he was going through in his head. Anyways, the hematoma is blood basically leaking in your skull around your brain, which would hurt.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And he wrote the film the film score for Riot, the movie with Gene Hackman. So I found that interesting.
Well, another interesting fact, maybe you guys found this too, but the guy who pushed him over
was his
buddy.
Yeah, his best friend.
They were messing, man. I was thinking of the time that Brent Gallion walked up to me at a roadside when we were sitting there, and I was sitting up with my feet on one pole and my butt on the other. And, you can hold on to the bar and swing backwards. And he just walked up and shoved me. And I was like, what the heck were you thinking? If I wouldn't have thought to hang on to that bar, I'd have hit my head. I could have been, the same. But sad part, did you find this, that buddy later on died of OD?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it affected him so much. He was, he didn't do well. Yep.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's
and
something.
going back to the quote, "A father to us," from Mikhail Urbanik. What ended up happening after that, in my rabbit hole for that particular week, was the trumpet player on this album.
Yes,
Thomas Stanko.
Stanko.
Yeah. And what ended up happening is he did multiple albums, one of which was Music for K.
Mm-hmm.
And that was based on some partial stuff that Stanko did for a jazz mass, but it was a big shout out to Krzysztof Komeda's music style.
Yeah.
Now, here's the real fact of the matter. This is what I want to get to. Recorded in 2004 on the ECM label. I'm talking ECM, Pat Metheny, and so many other brilliant Berkeley musicians. Thomas Stanko's new album just dropped on June 21st of 2004. ECM produced the recordings from 2004 called September Night. And this was a tribute to the music of Komeda on Astigmatic. And if you listen to the album, and I did a couple of days, 24 hours ago, it's been like the longest month of my week. When you listen to September Night, the opening song is what you guys keep referring to, the audio clip that we keep hearing. It's the same song, 18 minutes long. And in an interview, he said, "I wish that I had the ear for the minute details that he paid attention to in his music, and I will never be able to replicate what he heard and wanted to hear." And that it's such a big deal that album just dropped, September Nights. It was recorded 20 years ago, and ECM published it. There were a lot of Berkeley cats that came from Poland to do jazz music, and so Berkeley to us is a big deal because it's just amazing. So
well, that's where Daryl Stogren went. Yeah, that I was telling you about, which made it stand out because the drummer
Rune Carlson
went to played with Dizzy Gillespie and those kind of guys. Like he was a part of it, big part of the show. Yeah,
that's awesome. Hey, you want to run the slideshow real quick?
We need to. Let's do it.
Here we go. First slide. Whatever you do it to jazz, right?
Love it.
Love it.
Even with astigmatism.
I love you, Phil.
I know. Yes.
Yeah, explain it.
Okay. The album cover is the next slide. So we'll just talk about the album cover just a little. And you've already put it up on the video anyway, so they can see it. But I like to talk about the artwork. That's something that always interests me, the artwork for the album anyways. But this one kind of does look like an eye chart a little bit.
Yep.
And it's a little askewed. And without my glasses, I may not be able to see the A.
Mm-hmm. So you see what's happening. The A is flipped because it's coming through as it would through the retina, right? Or hitting the retina. And then the B is skewered. Where the heck did the B come from? It's astigmatic.
Okay.
It's skewed.
Blurry or fuzzy, distorted vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you that 20 minutes ago.
You did tell us 20 minutes ago, and I understood that. I still can't pronounce the name of the album very well, but you told us.
All right, let's move to the next slide. The next slide, I found this online. It's just a really cool picture of the group and at the Bia Jazz Festival in 1964. You got Thomas Stanko, the trumpet player. He's on the far left. Then you got Krzysztof Komeda in the middle. And you got Andrzej Dabrowski. And then you got Zofia Komeda. I believe that's his wife, yeah?
Oh.
Zofia?
Yeah.
But it's just a really cool photo of the group anyways, just hanging out together.
That is cool.
Yeah, so that really interests me. Next slide. I didn't put any captions or anything under this photo. I probably could have made it a little bit bigger, but that's his buddy. That's Marek Hiasko.
Yeah.
Him and Komeda were hanging out, and unfortunately, I think too much inebriation and shenanigans took place, and unfortunately got pushed over the
and he had to live
escarpment.
That.
And I had to look up that term escarpment.
Yeah.
I did not know what it was, and so I mean it's a steep embankment.
Yeah. You know what's even more funny is a couple weeks ago when I was in Canada, they're like, "Oh yeah, look at that. That's the escarpment." And I went, "The heck?
It's a
ridge.
It's a ridge.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, what is an escarpment?" And the lady who actually was driving us around was like, "I've never thought about what that word is. It's an escarpment."
Yeah, I looked it up because I didn't know what it was either. But that's what they use.
Yeah.
All right. So next slide. Again, I'm just going to include this from now on, jazz lingo for the day. And this week's slide, my term is bebop. I wanted to do bebop. So it's the style of jazz developed by young players in the early 40s, particularly Parker, Gillespie, Kenny Clark, Charlie Christian, and Bud Powell. They favored the simple standard tunes, and just the chord progressions were used as springboards for rapid improv. Okay, so the bebop, I'm still learning this as well. The difference between bop, bebop, hard bop, post bop. I'm still learning the difference. I mean, I'm an unconnoisseur. I'm still trying to figure that out. So if I'm trying to figure it out 60 weeks in, you can be sure that 24 weeks in, someone's going to trying to figure it out as well.
Thanks for that slide, because it is a reminder. What is it? And for jazz music, it's about improvisation. So whatever the train cart is that brings the goods is the improv. We call it a standard.
It's the hot dog getting the mustard into my mouth, because that's all a hot dog is. It's the vehicle for mustard.
French fries. French fries are just a vehicle for the ketchup, baby. Bob.
So, Bob. Yeah.
The vehicle.
Bebop's the vehicle, right?
Unless it's bratwurst, in which case then it's just bratwurst with a touch of mustard.
Sauerkraut and spicy mustard.
Anything can turn into food conversation with the three of us.
Right? I just finished lunch. What's for dinner?
Second breakfast.
Biscuits and gravy in between lunch and dinner.
Oh
wow!
I had no idea.
That turned sideways.
It did.
Love you, Dad.
Love you, Dad.
I love biscuits and gravy.
Want to go to
Oh, and
Delta?
Dad. And Dad.
Next
Okay,
slide.
next slide. 1931 to 1969. What does that make him? 37? Is that what you said? 38.
Yeah, 38. Yeah.
The influences that I found is that he took piano lessons at an early age, and so that was one of the major influences. He did want to go to conservatory and play classical piano, but he found bebop and artists. The bebop artists were some of his influences. So I'm thinking, Charlie Parker, Dizzy were some of his influences. But I can't imagine that he would have too much outside influence besides those at that time period. Like you said, you're coming out of the nasty,
the communism,
right,
craziness.
So I don't know how easy it was for him to gather that influence. So he's laying his own stuff down, right? He's not trying to be like anybody else. He's like, this is what I hear. This is what we're going to do. I don't care what anything else sounds like. Discography, I got 10 studio albums. Filmography, 39 film scores that he wrote, and he was on 5 compilations. Now, Discogs, I was on Discogs earlier, and their numbers are a little skewed. I don't believe Discogs as much as I do my own research, but they said he was on like 39 studio albums, but I didn't. Maybe the compilations albums or the Thomas Stanko albums they included, but I found 10 studio albums that Komeda did. The genre, he's obviously jazz, he's modal jazz, film score, and avant-garde. What do you call? Is there a different term for film score? Just the score, right? Film score.
Yeah, film score.
Okay. All right. The known for, obviously, the 1968 Rosemary's Baby, and I took one for the team last week. I watched it. I did. I watched, and you know what?
Dude.
After you listen to Astigmatic and you watch Rosemary's Baby, you can tell it's Komeda doing the music.
Really?
Yeah, because because it sounds astigmatic. not blurry, but it does sound like his work.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't watch Riot yet, but he also did the score for Riot, 1969 Gene Hackman movie, and then of course known for Astigmata, his album.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
dude, don't watch Rosemary's Baby, and not endorsing crazy movies.
Dude,
I watched the preview, right? I watched the back when they actually didn't give away the whole movie.
Right.
So I was like, I still don't know what it is. So Scotty and I were talking about it, and she explained to me the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
She had watched it, I don't know how many years ago now, because she's like, no, I want to watch this old movie, and I like the artist, whatever. And she's like, that was the most whacked out plot line ever.
Yeah, for a movie in 1968, it was a whacked out line. Plot line.
Yeah.
Today, it wouldn't even be an R-rated movie today.
Probably.
It'd be a PG movie.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Just based on the stuff that's being put out. Now, American Horror Story did Rosemary's Baby actually they're still on this season.
Yep.
The whole Rosemary's Baby story in today's, production, but I don't know. I took one for the team. I watched it. It was weird. So my 6 degrees. Let me get this out of the way because I was excited.
I'm curious because I didn't spend enough time digging. So.
Okay, so we got Komeda played with Thomas Stanko, right? They played together.
Yeah.
Stanko, the trumpet player. Stanko did an album on ECM with Jack DeJohnette.
Oh,
that's my link right there. Jack DeJohnette played with Miles as well. So we're 3 degrees.
3 degrees.
Komeda, Stanko, and Jack DeJohnette.
It's funny because my week of music, chasing down Komeda Quintet, all of my notes ended up circling around Tomas Stanko. Must listen to.
Yes.
Latania from 1995 was also the music of Krzysztof Komeda. Dark Eyes from 2009. So I focused that week on his history, where Komeda came from, what he did. I didn't go into Poland and think about that, but Thomas Stanko is who I rabbit holed on all week long. So come on, I missed that one.
Yeah, you missed that one.
Awesome.
But here's the other thing. I saw something early in the week that Komeda worked with Oliver Nelson. And I was trying to, I know, I was trying to find it again. I wasn't drinking that night, I promise. But I was trying to find it again yesterday while I was
come
building
on.
the
That's going to be a
slideshow.
splinter in my mind for the next 3 days. I'm going to find that.
and because I was gonna, I was gonna 6 degrees from Oliver Nelson,
Yeah.
but he hasn't come up in our discussion yet. So
Well, we found a, who was it that was directed by Oliver Nelson, a big band the other day that I sent.
yeah.
So, okay, do you guys just do him, or do you do anybody who played on that album?
We rabbit hole on anything. So if the album is,
You're talking about your 6 degrees.
Yeah.
Well,
You just go with Komeda because it
you
can't.
start with Komeda.
Okay, so
and whoever
then-
he's played with.
Okay, you won't go off the album itself. Because on the album,
yeah, we will. So if Komeda played with JoJo and JoJo played with Bobby and Bobby played with Freddie and Freddie played with Miles, it doesn't matter that it was on or off the album. This is a sidebar conversation. Can we find a connection?
Okay, because I didn't try to do all the way over to, but Rune, of course, played with Dizzy.
Who played with Miles?
Would have played with Miles. Does that work?
Come on.
Or does that go to Komeda?
No, that
Bam, he nails it.
Right.
well, no, because Rune played with Komeda
On this album. So you go with this album.
So you got Komeda, Rune,
There you
Dizzy, Miles.
There you go.
Bam. Come
Nice
on. with
work.
the truth.
I'm learning.
Nice work. I didn't even think about Rune at all.
Nope.
I was
Nope.
focused on Stanko, most like you. I
Yeah.
was rabbit holing down, Thomas Stanko and Tomas,
Tomas.
and it's probably
Tomasz.
C. Tomas.
Yeah, something.
Cool.
All right, so let's move on to the final slide, my slideshow today in jazz history for July the 10th. Trumpeter Cootie Williams was born in 1910.
Yeah, boy.
That's good.
And then it's just another picture of Komeda that right there on the bottom of that slide. So, and he looks like a doctor in that picture.
He does.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Look right here.
I wonder what his signature looks like. Does it look like a doctor's signature?
Ooh, that's a good question. I wonder if we could find one.
I bet we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. That's going to be that thorn in my brain. Let's find Thomas.
signature.
Yeah, Krzysztof Komeda's signature.
Yeah.
So Cootie Williams, born in 1910. Thanks so much for letting me do the
That's
slideshow.
cool. That's
Was
cool.
is there any thoughts after the fact of all of this exciting conversation? So Phil, you realize now it's not about understanding the music. I don't have to love it, like it. I could throw it out like City Glass didn't hit us well. It's not relevant. It's about the music. An album a week. We get to dialogue about things that we've learned, and it's one step at a time.
Yeah.
Ooh, I
that's cool.
do have to go to this though. What did you rate this, Matt?
Well,
Did
you
it
know
shake
what?
your world?
Okay, that's a good question because, all right, we're coming off of Herbie Hancock week, so already we're jazzed up about listening to jazz. You throw Komeda in there, and I don't know whether it was the ripple effect from last week, Herbie. It did shake my world. He still is shaking my world because Thomas Stanko is in my playlist, and I've gone back to Thomas Stanko thinking, yeah, all right, I can do this. I can do it. Now, Komeda comes on, it's recognizable. I'm going to know who it is, which is the big deal for me, the recognizability. You're going to know who it is when it comes on your shuffle list. So, shook my world. How about you?
Good or bad?
Yeah.
It shook it down. Yeah, threw me off the bed. I wish I could get back on. I just say I'm looking forward to other jazz.
Okay.
That's how I'll leave it before I rate it. Yeah.
And I would say that it shook my world because not only did Tomas give a tribute, many other students that came up through Komeda, especially the Polish students still today, are being shaken by what Krzysztof did. So it has shaken my world. Now, was it a high score? Was it a high rating? No. But I will know when you hear his songs, period.
Mm-hmm.
And he has that way of composing, which is tough. It's tough to write a song. It's tough to write a song for a whole bunch of instruments. So, Matt, are you ready to rate it?
I am. You ready?
What did you give it?
You know what? Even though I don't want to say we haven't had a lot of positive things to say. It shook me enough. I rated this album 8 out of 10.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a great score.
Wow.
Yep.
And
Wow.
I gave this album that week a 7.5 out of 10. It's a high score for having the I might almost say chaos of what the album is. It was definitely not City of Glass.
No.
But to understand what Polish jazz was, I think is what really shook our scores to the higher side. To understand the impact that he had both in film scores and the students that he's had, the father figure that he was to many. He was a musician above all standards. He really did rock it. So if you had to rate it, Phil, 1 to 10, what would you have given this
And
album?
you know what? Be honest.
Yeah, I'm pushing like a 6.5 to 7. Like,
Wow.
Still pretty high.
That's pretty high.
because and it comes out of that appreciation. If you'd have just shown me this and been like, "Hey, rate this," I'd have been like, "Dude, who's this nut job?" I really at first when I listened to it, like I said, I just wanted to take it as an album. I'd have been like 2.5, 3, like what is this?
Perfect.
But as I appreciate a lot more of what it was, who it was. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me say this: in the 1999 list, he was way up at 42.
Wow.
In the 2006 list, they dropped him down to 85. And so I feel good about where he's at on the 2022 list. I'm glad that he was 76 and not 42.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad it was right in the middle, just because it gave us time to start appreciating jazz on our unconnoisseur journey.
Cool. Yeah.
Before they threw, if this would have been number 100, we might not have continued with the journey. Like you.
Yeah. Like,
what are we in for?
Don't like jazz. What are we in for? And if this is what we have, if there's 100 more of these, and I don't want any part of it.
And I think this is the exciting part, Phil, for you. I'm saying this to our listeners because you're sitting here as well. What we don't know, we don't know. And so if we look at this and go, how in the heck did this album even make it to the top 100? There are billions of great jazz albums, and somebody chose this as number 76. What kind of crap is that? Well, what we don't know is how it impacted so many other people, both from Poland, from the U.S., and so we start to ask, how was it here? Why is it here? And then you find out, it has its long-lasting impact. And I'm thinking about the album Summertime Night.
I didn't listen to any of his other albums, and I don't know all about jazz, but I did just look up Polish jazz. And one of the lines that was in there about the guy who was reviewing things is he says, "To me, it's really sad that American and other don't know about Polish jazz."
Yep.
Because there's so much that's there to offer, and we just don't get it, so we don't appreciate it, right? There's something to it. So, it'd be interesting to see.
And I would say that some of those names, Bogdan Halloween, Marcin Maseski, I'm going to slaughter all these because they're Polish names, Janusz Kowalski, and Wojciech Karlik. All of these are current jazz musicians on the ECM label, and all of them have been through Berkeley. And so I slaughtered the names all to say that there are some really amazing Polish jazz musicians out there that I think because of Komeda are going to be known.
Yeah. There is another funny one that was on there that I have to connect to you guys. As I was chasing this, somebody said, what if he would have been able to actually push into the American music filmography and done things like that? And what if he'd have written for Chinatown?
Yes, I read that.
You read that one too?
I read that article,
Instead of Jerry Goldsmith, which I don't know Jerry Goldsmith, but maybe you guys hit the same thing I did, because I typed into Google Jerry Goldsmith connecting over to, and it literally finished it when I hit E, Ernest Goldsmith. And I was like, who's been searching this that much? That was Google's first thing.
So do we have any connection to the Eggman? I know, right? Ernie Goldsmith, baby. That's what I thought when I saw the name.
Yeah. Jerry Goldsmith.
Well,
you guys read it too. Yeah.
he's done a lot of scores.
Yeah.
Goldsmith has,
Yeah.
and every time the name comes up, I sit up a little bit. Yeah,
Yep.
I know that family.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not him, but but that family. So
Star Trek. I mean, he wrote for all kinds. Yeah.
Yep.
So final thoughts. You got any final thoughts on the album? Well, let me ask you this before you give your final thoughts. Would you recommend this album to a brand new listener?
Not to a brand new one.
Nope.
No more than I would have recommended the Joe Harriet album. No.
Joe Harriet Double Quintet, Indo Jazz.
Quintet. Yeah.
I honestly, I think I'd recommend Joe Harriet before Komeda.
Really?
Wow.
I'm looking at you because that's where you started on your journey with us, and you kind of dug in that week and really learned about it. And this one kind of hit you a little different, and you almost didn't want to come over tonight. So I'm glad you did, just for the nugget aspect of it.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I would not recommend this to a new listener. No.
I would be the opposite. I'd recommend this before I would have recommended Indo Jazz, which is where you guys started me.
So this will be curious then. Over the next month, as we get a chance to dialogue with you, you're going to be jumping into some pretty wild albums.
Yeah.
Oh crap! I just looked at the next month of music.
We got some bangers. We got some bangers coming up.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. And just so everyone knows, just like jazz, we're gonna take a small detour in our journey in a couple of weeks because we've got some special locations that we'd like to film at or record at. So just bear with us while we do that.
Drew, did you answer? Would you recommend this?
Yeah, I did answer.
Yeah, he did.
You did. Okay.
I would not.
You
I
said no.
thought about that because the album that we're coming to, when we're at home inside the Star Piano building, we will skip a week and then come back to that so that we can record what we learn about that artist and record label that comes, which has been mentioned many times tonight.
Yeah. So, all right. So while you're at it, why don't you just mention who we're going to cover next week? Let's go right into
I'm excited to say this, but I'm disappointed for Phil because I think we want to go to some straight jazz music, but this is not going to be it. Next week, we're going to be hearing the amazing vibraphonist Gary Burton. Now, go down that rabbit hole and listen to his stuff. And this week's album coming up is a genuine tong funeral. And I have had since then to throw away many tongs that I've used on the grill. So I hold them in dear delight as I throw them in the trash. And I celebrate a tong funeral. On vibraphone was Gary Burton. Piano, organ, and fond was Carla Bly, who had actually composed a lot of this music. There'll be a bunch of names that we don't recognize, many that we do. Larry Coryell being one of those names that stands out on the guitar, Steve Swallow on the bass, and Bob Moses on the drums. The album came out in November 1967. I'm sorry, it was recorded November 20 and 21 of 1967.
67, yeah.
This was on RCA, LP, and CD. Again, the album, Gary Burton, A Genuine Tong Funeral.
Now, let me ask you this. Is that what you want him to listen to first before we rabbit hole further into Gary Burton?
Yes. Got to listen to this album. It's a must that this album is your first listen to. Appreciate and understand what's going on.
Because just like us, Gary Burton, never heard of him before. Let's check him out.
Vibraphone, Pat. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You better time out.
Yeah. And then you break out with Milt Jackson and so many other great vibraphonists.
So genuine Tong Funeral, Gary Burton.
All right, I'll listen to it.
Before we wrap up, we got a special presentation.
Oh, I forgot. Yes.
Yeah. Your brother bought you a gift. Now, I did just to make sure that it was what I thought it was.
You opened my present?
I did not open your present. So your brother bought you a gift, had it shipped here.
Oh, nice.
Now,
you talked about this last week, didn't you? Or
Yep.
You had said, very cool.
So to preface the book and the story,
Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and tell us, hold the book up so we can see it on screen, and then we can talk about it.
Right there.
Finding the Groove by Robert Galinas.
All right.
So
Find the Groove.
I was struggling. There's some artists coming up that we were rabbit holing on, and I was struggling philosophically with their beliefs. And it was about that time that Drew said, "Well, I'm reading this book, Finding the Groove. I think you'd enjoy it." So I jumped on to Amazon and purchased it, and 3 days later, I was done with it.
Wow. And it's more than 10 pages.
and it's not IT related, so because I read those books all the time too.
Nice.
But
Very cool.
I think I bought Dad's copy. He bought your copy. Dad loved the book. We've talked about it with him on his episode.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. And this is not a book review time. I think that Matt and I agreed that this book really helps us shape where jazz is and where it could be. I think that for our years growing up in the church, I think we might have referred to it as the devil's music, or anything that wasn't gospel hymns was the devil. And Robert Galinas comes through from his seminary years listening to jazz music, and he starts to correlate how jazz and the scriptures run hand in hand. Jesus was the master of improvisation. And so I think it's huge.
Send them out.
If you like the book half as much as I do, you're going to love the book.
Sweet, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
And
thank you.
I'll sign it, and he can sign it when he gets home.
Very cool.
And then
Or
one day,
not. That way you can hand it off to somebody
yep.
that you
No, I'll have it signed by the unconnoisseurs. Man, this will be worth money one day.
Well, it'd be worth more if Robert Galinas signed it for you, but
Yeah.
we'll work on that one day.
I'm gonna
I don't
contact
know the
him.
guy, but I know you. Sign my book. You're
Yeah, when-
special,
when
and you better sign it
when
too.
you get a chance to rabbit hole about who Robert Galinas is and where he's come from as well, where he's currently at. This is a new book, and it was just a powerful thing in our current journey.
I can't wait for you to sign it, and I can't wait for him to read it. I'm so excited.
It'll be done this week, I'm sure.
Hey, I just have to say, Dad did one episode and you bought him a book and you made me do 3. Come on.
No, you got to do 3.
Oh, I got to do
You've had the great
My
privilege
God,
and honor of
Indo
being on our
Jazz.
show.
Had Komeda. Who did he get to do?
He actually didn't get to do anybody. That was just a special episode.
Oh, he just came.
Well,
Hey,
Phil,
guess
I got to
Guess
be.
what? The good son hasn't listened to his episode yet.
No, he's got 2. You're behind 2 on that because it was a 2-part series with Dad.
Part series,
Oh.
yeah.
And I want to ask you a very important question. How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel good that he didn't watch the episode,
I know, right?
because now I can call Dad. He hasn't even watched your
He hasn't even
episode.
seen your episode. Oh,
Is he the
already
good
said-
son? Who's the good son?
Wait, you're going back tonight? You're going back again? What's going on? You're going back again?
Man.
You know what?
Man.
Maybe we could include him in Oliver Nelson Week.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's coming up in several weeks from now. But
We could do a rerun on Gregory Porter, and he could chime in on that.
That's true.
Dad, I apologize. We have again left you behind. This time was it not at the Barnes Funeral Home, but we will try to not have biscuits and gravy.
We'll get you on again.
Hey, this is special because you got me on number 76. That's the year I was born, and I got a birthday gift on special gift on 76.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
So I think you're going to enjoy 75.
Yeah.
I really do. The album, maybe not so much, but the artist for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'll chase him after I listen to his.
Yes. Listen to
okay.
Genuine Tongue Funeral. All right.
I'm just gonna say ECM and Pat Metheny. Gary Burton.
Oh yeah.
Egghead.
Software.
I have no idea.
No.
But I laugh because I have no idea what's going on.
All right. Hey
that was
everyone.
a shout out to Kendra. Hey you
Thanks.
guys, thank you again.
Thanks for joining us.
Don't
Definitely.
forget, you can find us on the website at theunconnoisseur.com. Shoot us an email at theunconnoisseur@gmail.com. Check into Matt at TikTok at The Unconnoisseur. And of course, you're already on YouTube at The Unconnoisseur. And for y'all listening on the podcast, thanks for joining us on the podcast on all of those channels. Hopefully you have a chance to chime in and listen to more of this stuff. Be safe while you're driving, because that's where I know you're listening to us at while you're cruising down the road. So keep your eyes on the road and your ears on the jazz music.
Cool.
Love
Hey,
it.
thanks again for having me, guys.
Yep.
This was fun.
It's good having you.
All
Cheers,
right.
everybody. Love y'all.
right.
Peace out.
Love you. Peace out.
Bye. A lot of it. No, whoa.
What?
Whoa. Do widzenia.
Do
That's how
widzenia.
you say goodbye in Polish.
Do widzenia.
Do
Do
widzenia.
widzenia.
Do widzenia. I had that even down from the time I was in Poland. We got it.
Do widzenia.
Do widzenia.
widzenia.